Tabouleh'i burada herkes biliyordur büyük olsa. Tabouleh'ın EMEA bölge direktörü, yönetici direktörü bizimle birlikte. Alkışlarınızla Marc Thomas. Round of applause for him. He is managing director at Tabouleh, and he is managing EMEA region, right? So, we're going to do a fireside chat. I mean, I have many things in my mind, but let's make this like a casual chat.
Okay.
It's going to be better. I guess most of the people here in this room know about Tabouleh, but I'm just leaving it to you. Maybe you want to give a quick overview, and afterwards we can start.
Okay, no problem. Could just make sure, can everyone hear me in the back okay? Just maybe raise their hands if it's okay. Good, good. Actually, one thing, who knows about Tabouleh? Can you put your hands up if you've come across us before, just to make sure I know?
Who knows Tabouleh?
Yep. Okay, so,
not much, so
half the audience
it's
here.
a good potential market now.
Okay, okay, good. So a little bit about me. So look, I'm Managing Director for Emerging EMEA and the UK at Tabouleh. I've been around at the company for 4.5 years. So when I started Tabouleh, we saw around 180 million people across the globe. And now, as of from 2-3 months ago, we see over 1.2 billion users across the globe. So what Tabouleh is, we're a content discovery or native discovery platform. We work with some of the biggest publishers around the globe. So, for example, in Turkey, we work with the likes of, if it's MyNet, Milliyet, Onidio as examples, and globally we work with big publishers like USA Today, the Daily Mail, and a few others. So what we do is we provide recommendations on these sites. So when you often get to the bottom of the article, you will see a recommendation that's powered by Tabouleh. So we work with advertisers and agencies to recommend their content all across the web, and the business has been pretty successful over the last kind of 4 to 5 years in doing that.
So, you're in Istanbul now? And,
yeah, just about made it. You have so much traffic here. It's,
oh, no, we don't.
No?
Do we have traffic here in Istanbul? No.
Literally crossing the road to get to here probably took me 15 minutes. 15 minutes crossing the road.
Come on.
I was waiting at the traffic lights here.
You're exaggerating it.
Okay, all right. Okay, 12. It was 12 minutes. All right, fine.
So, what are you doing in Turkey?
Yep.
What are your plans about? I mean, you have offices in here in Turkey. I know
yep.
that, but maybe you want to give us more details about that. And what are your plans? How do you see Turkey as a market for Tabouleh?
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
So we see the opportunity in Turkey is really interesting. You know, when we first launched into Turkey, it was around 20 months ago. So we're coming up to kind of 2 years pretty soon. And we started from baseline, you know, kind of ground zero. And we had some really, really good partners, the likes of Milliyet and a few others, and Microsoft, that really helped us kind of get to a certain stage. And we hired our first representative in Turkey, Hakan, who's been on the ground here for the last 20 months. And we've kind of built a team around that, which has been great. The reason why we're excited about Turkey is generally the opportunity where we find users in Turkey are very, very much internet first. You have a very, you know, buoyant young audience that likes to engage across, you know, kind of mobile devices, likes to watch video, likes to kind of, you know, look and engage with native content. So it's a big opportunity for us. And even when I landed into Istanbul, I found out that you know, the fact that you guys have, you know, 17.5 million people, you know, compared to our very small, measly 7.5, 8 million in London, it presents a massive opportunity for us.
And considering all that population,
yep.
It's funny that we don't have any traffic.
Yeah, exactly that.
So, I mean, do you have any more plans about Turkey? Are you planning to do? I mean, how many people work in the office?
So right now we have plans. So right now we're seeing a significant amount of reach in Turkey. So I think we've got close to around kind of 65, or maybe a bit more in terms of the kind of percent of the market we have in Turkey. The big plans for us, I think, this year is to really kind of build out our video product as well. So we're doing a lot of video at Tabouleh. So when you land on a publisher site and you see kind of recommended video, often that's powered by Tabouleh for a lot of different sites that kind of run kind of, you know, in-feed video. And this we see as a big opportunity because when we've done our research, users in Turkey are very, very much kind of video first. So we like to try and make sure that we can kind of build a strategy that incorporates more video, because right now we're seeing kind of more native and sponsored content side of things, but video is going to be a really interesting opportunity for us.
Video is a new thing now, right?
For videos, I would say video's been around for a while, but
video in Tabouleh.
But for us, it's something that's really explosive, because I think that when we speak to publishers, the biggest challenge that they talk to us about is that I'm fed up of seeing or users watching my video on Facebook. I'm fed up of users watching my video on Instagram. They want to find a way that can actually get more video eyeballs and video viewers on their site. So what we do at Tabouleh is to try and provide a way where we have a product called Tabouleh Feed that allows users to stay on the site for longer and watch more of the publisher's favorite videos, or watch more of the kind of brand videos that are then presented, rather than just, let's say, sitting on Facebook or YouTube. So that's something that we're seeing more and more and more.
Why people want to really move from Facebook and YouTube to, I don't know, just regular websites?
Yeah. Well, I think that, you know,
maybe you can do like a comparison, like
there's
social platforms versus websites.
So we talk about it a lot. We talk about the walled gardens versus the open web. So what we're really trying to do is we're trying to become the champions of the open web. What we're finding is that users, once they land on the publisher site, they may then go back to Facebook or then go back to Instagram. And what we're finding is that if you present users with the right and the most interesting piece of content once they finish an article, that's when they will stay longer on that site. So what we do at Tabouleh is to try and improve the user flow and the user journey for users staying on the sites for longer. So if they stay on the sites for longer, it means more money in the open web ecosystem and less into the pockets of the Googles and the Facebook of the world. And apologies if anyone from Google and Facebook is here. You know, we love you all, but I think this is still a conversation that comes up many times.
I'm going to jump on to another topic, but we're going to definitely come back to advertising business. But first of all, I have a question, because I mean, I founded Webrazzi in 2006. Since then, we've been covering tech startups all around the world.
Yep.
And I know Tabouleh for quite a long time. And I know the company came out of Israel, and now it's all around the world. Maybe most of the people think that it's from US or something, but now it's everywhere. So you have offices in US, in UK, maybe many other countries as well. I mean, how do you manage this scale? How can you expand? I mean, it's not really old company, is it? Like,
no, it's not. I mean, it's been tough. I'm not going to lie to you. I think when you get to a critical size, it does become more challenging to try and keep the culture within the company. Because to give you an idea, when I started, there was 140 people at the business, and now we're kind of over 1,000 people, and globally we're over kind of 16, 17 offices across the world. And I think that when we talk about success in kind of running a business, it's important to try and adapt to the cultures of every single market that you kind of that you launch in. So to give you an idea, we were founded in Israel, but we very much quickly understood that from a global perspective, it's important to make sure that we have representation in each market as quickly as possible. So our headquarters have actually been in New York for the last 7, 8 years. And from New York, we realized that we can't just fit American culture into, let's say, a Japanese culture or a German culture. So we've done very well in kind of hiring local people on the ground to try and scale that business up. I also think as well, from a product perspective, advertisers and agencies are looking at ways to create really interesting content. And I think the challenge that we've seen over the last 4 years is that a lot of people build good content, but don't get many people to actually watch and view this piece of content. So many editors and many kind of content teams are building fantastic hubs on site, really interesting kind of, kind of different things that they read through on an advertiser or advertiser's site, and they're not being seen. So Tabouleh has done a very good job in being able to distribute that content so more people view what's in the world, and that is all across the world. So I think that just generally the core part of our business is something that is very, very scalable across the globe, because people want to read interesting content.
So how long have you been in Tabouleh?
So I'm 4.5 years in, and even though it doesn't seem that long, I'm considered an oldie in the company. Although I used to have hair when I started. I'm sorry.
Oh, come on.
No.
So the industry has really changed
Yep.
for the last, I don't know, couple of years.
Yep.
You've been there for like 4.5
Yep.
years, so you can tell me a little bit like what has changed in the industry in the last 2-3 years.
So the biggest change we see is levels of personalization, so or potentially lack of it. I think that now people want to see relevant and personalized items to their own business or own product. So to give you an idea, when you land on a publisher's website, we believe what's changed is that things are more relevant or related to myself versus how they used to be 5 years ago. That's a big shift that we've seen, and we've tried to invest a lot of money in kind of doing that. I also think kind of what's changed is the behavior of people when they're on their mobile phones over the last 5 years. We cannot get away from that. That scrolling idea, I also believe that everyone is going to have a very long thumb by the time they're 70, 75 years old, because we are consistently scrolling, and that type of behavior, we've definitely kind of seen a big shift, and we're seeing a lot of publishers now changing and shifting towards that, and then also advertisers trying to kind of fit in to a page that kind of supports that, not just on the social platforms, but more on the open web. So that has definitely changed. And then we've spoken about it a little bit before. The adoption of video has just been dramatic. Telling a story on video is like using 55,000 words for 5 seconds worth of video. It can be really powerful. So we're seeing a lot of that, good creatives that are coming out and really kind of embarking with a video journey.
Yeah. How do you see the future of the ecosystem then? So
of the whole of the digital ecosystem?
Yeah. I mean, in the next 2-3 years.
Next 2-3 years, I think that we're all going to be flying around in cars, I think.
What is going to be the landscape look like?
So look, I think the landscape for me, we are going to see, I think we're going to see more of a shift to, I think, well, the mobile and the video side of things are not going to go away anywhere soon.
Do you think we're going to shift from social platforms to websites? Just a quick question.
I would like to say yes. I would say that there'll be more shift.
Right?
But I think it's a serious challenge. I think that a lot of publishers are really kind of finding it difficult to try and keep people on site for longer. So I still think that's going to be a challenge that we all face in the industry. I think that if I'm going to look to see where the industry is heading, I think that basically keeping things more local is going to be key for the industry. So I think when we talk about things like e-commerce, I think that we are going to be at a stage where if I'm walking in London and I'm walking past my local store, I think that my local store will know more about me. I think that we will have personalization and relevance not just in our hands, but I think all around us. I think that we're going to have ability to be able to kind of track. I'm not sure the mechanics and the ability to be able to do that. But even right now, we're seeing things like connected TV that's really scaling pretty aggressively in the US, and we're seeing that in more parts of Europe. So the advertising on TV is now relevant. But I think that the advertising ecosystem will have more relevancy outside of our homes. But I believe once we get over the GDPR hurdle in Europe and the e-privacy directive that's coming on board next year, and then once the US look to see what a mess we're doing in Europe, they will see how that goes. But I think that will be the future of making sure that there's more personalized there.
When you said GDPR, I remembered one more thing.
Don't ask me about GDPR.
I'm not, but
okay.
All right, I mean, there are a couple of things that we have to mention at least while we're talking here. Like, first of all, I mean, like, privacy is important. On the other hand, we have to talk about brand safety, maybe. Yeah, so maybe you can just mix them all together and put in the middle.
Mix them all together in the middle. So, all right, so I put that. So brand safety, obviously highly and very, very important. But at the same time, I think that that's going to change dramatically. We have things like, you guys familiar with like ads.txt? So with ads.txt, it's a way to try and stop domain spoofers making money from the programmatic side of things. We've now got ads.cert, which is to try and stop the clever spoofers making sure they can kind of make money from programmatic when they shouldn't be making money. And I think there's going to be more influence from things like blockchain. I think blockchain is going to be interesting for, kind of taking on, domain spoofing and looking at brand safety. When it comes to GDPR, to everyone in the room, in Europe, GDPR happened, It was a big whirlwind, but there wasn't too many casualties, touch wood, as of yet. I think GDPR, we were not necessarily prepared for, not Tabouleh, but I think the industry wasn't necessarily prepared for exactly what they would need to change in time. But I think that as things have happened, it's a lot more clear in terms of what people expect when they land on a website. And I think that right now things seem to be okay, but I think the main challenge the industry faces will be on the e-privacy directive. When that comes into play about how you track users in terms of non-PII information via cookies, that will be the big thing that I believe maybe shifts the industry.
Thank you, Marc. It was great talking to you.
No problem.
Before we finish, I want to announce one more thing, because there will be a Tabouleh workshop. You know our workshop rooms. I'm going to say this in Turkish. It's going to be easier for everyone. Workshop odalarımızı biliyorsunuz. Biraz sonra bir Tabouleh'ın workshop'u başlayacak. Katılmak isteyenler olursa Tabouleh kampanyalarında iyi performans için ne yapmalı, ne yapmamalı başlıklı bir workshop olacak. Yani biz bitirdiğimiz anda başlıyor olacak. Bunu sizlerle paylaşmış olayım. Katılmak isteyenler buradan sonra Tabouleh'ın workshop'una geçebilirler.
Yep. And then stop by and say hi. We're just outside here, so feel free to stop by and say hi. Very happy to be here and meet as many of you guys as possible as well.
Thanks, Marc.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.